Hello, my fellow jewels. I'm actually a little nervous to go live here today, but I had some thoughts on my heart and I wanted to share them with you today. And hopefully my computer works okay. Sometimes when I do it live on my computer, it cuts off partway through. But I'm going to share some thoughts with you because I know that everybody's in a different place and everybody needs to hear different things. So maybe this will speak to you, maybe it won't. And I just wanted to share some things that I've learned over the last 3.5 years that I've been in Plexus that helped me on my way to Double Diamond. I also want to breathe some more belief into you as far as what is possible and what you can do and what you can achieve, no matter where you are, no matter how stuck you are, no matter if you've lost your passion temporarily for Plexus, or you've been in a slump for a long time, or maybe you've been stuck in the same place and you haven't been able to move forward, that the number one thing that I believe and that I have learned over the last 6 months to a year is that my achievement and what I want to create first and foremost begins in my mind. Whatever it is that I set my mind to that I want to do is where it begins. And that is where the first part of your, journey begins. And so whatever it is you're wanting to create, you have to first visualize it. You have to see it and you have to spend time in that space as if it has already happened. And so maybe that might be things like, for example, I wore my diamonds every single day. Some of you saw it in my story as well, that when it hurt my wrist and I was typing at the typewriter, I stuck it down my shirt in my bra. Like, those diamonds stayed on me. That was part of visualizing for me. I remember hearing Sarah Marble talk about when she went sapphire, she bought a sapphire blue dress that she was going to wear at convention. And she looked at that dress every single day. Maybe for you, it's words that you write on your mirror, you write on a piece of paper, you post up all around your house. But that achievement that you want to create starts first and foremost in your mind. It starts there, but then you have to let it settle deep down into your heart. Because if you stay in your head, like we've learned, if you stay in your head and your thoughts and your logic and your ego, you will not do all of the things that you need to do, and you will not rise to the occasion because it has to settle deep down in your heart. But it starts up here in your head. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about my push to Diamond last month and Double Diamond. So to be honest with you guys, I was actually stuck at Sapphire for quite a while. I was stuck. I ranked Sapphire last May. So this makes a year that I was at Sapphire, which is not terrible. But for me, that was like killing me because if you know me, I'm like, okay, full speed ahead, here we go. But there were a lot of lessons that I needed to learn, and there was a lot of personal growth that I had to go through, a lot of fears and limiting beliefs about myself and being enough that I had to overcome before I could achieve this rank of Diamond a second time. And so I had to grow by about 1,000 points last month to be able to achieve Diamond. It's a big jump, it's a big leap, but I knew that it was possible, and I knew that by me not pushing myself, not going after something else, I knew that I would probably be a slow 100 to 200 point growth every single month, and eventually I would probably hit Diamond, maybe not, if I didn't push, but I knew that the push was important because if I didn't push, my team was not going to push. If I didn't show up, my team was not going to show up. If I didn't set some kind of a goal and actually work for it and go after it myself, how could I expect my team to take me there? How could I expect my team to go with it? And so this transformation really started for me a few months ago. So if you feel some kind of a stirring in your heart and you're feeling like, okay, it's time for me to wake up. It's time for me to set a push goal. It's time for me to do something uncomfortable. It's time for me to declare what it is I want to do. Then number one, you have to declare that. You have to declare it to your team. You have to declare it publicly. It was terrifying for me to declare to the world on May 1st that I was going Double Diamond that month. But when we do not have accountability, which is the number one thing we need to be successful and to achieve the great things that we want to achieve in our life, if we do not have accountability, we will not do it. And so I knew that it was possible. I knew that I was capable of it, but I hadn't been holding myself accountable. And so putting it out there publicly, telling my team, getting them on board, that was the accountability piece. And I want to challenge you guys to hold yourself accountable and to tell other people what it is you are going to do. I want you to also think of this. When you have a big push to make, how can you do it in a way that does not self-destruct your team? How can you do it in a way that's positive? And how can you do it in a heart for helping people and not falling back 1,000 points? I don't plan to fall back 1,000 points this month. That is not the plan. What we did a month before, Chrissy Jex and I actually power partnered up, and we did a gold and above series, a 4-week series on retention, ranking up, and seeing your points grow. It was every Friday we did a call on different topics. And what we did is we dug into follow-up a lot. And we dug into the fears that surround people with follow-up, why people drop off, and how we can reach back out to them, how we can have a compassionate conversation with them to get restarted because we care about them, not just to throw an incentive at them, throw money at them, just so they'll order for 1 month. I want people to get back on the products and stay on the products. So it started with really focusing on retention, ranking up, and point growth the month before so that people could shift their mindset and feel more comfortable reaching out to people that had quit, feel more comfortable reaching out to the less than 100 PV people, feel more confident in their ability to follow up and to keep people on the products and to help them get results and why they should care about it and why they should do it. And so we focused a lot on that the 30 days leading up to it. So all of April was that focus. The other focus, which I feel like a lot of us need to remember, is that our virtual office is an opportunity. It is not the valley of death. So many of us see our virtual office and we see how many white lines we have. We see how many less than 100 PV people we have, and it freaks us out and it makes us depressed, and we attach it to our worth. We think, oh my gosh, I failed. I have 5,000 white lines and only 1,000 people that order 100 PV every month, and what is wrong with me? And it has nothing to do with that. My mindset shifted on this several months ago to seeing the virtual office as an opportunity, to seeing all of those people as warm leads. All of those people came to Plexus with a hope and a dream and a wish for something. And for whatever reason, they didn't get it. But to me, it doesn't mean it's over. And so teaching your people and you yourself looking at your virtual office as an opportunity and not the valley of death is what can shift so much for you. And getting people restarted and not just throwing money at them. Of course, you're going to incentivize those people, I'm sure, but not just throwing money at them with a short-term perspective of getting them to order for a month, but with a long-term perspective of doing things like focus groups, special challenge, health coaching, whatever you can offer to them for 30 to 60 days after they order to help with better retention, to help them to get results so that they're not just dropping off after that 30 days. That was another really important thing for us. The other thing was to plan and reassess every few days. And so the plan started 60 days in advance. It started April 1st, culminating on May 31st. I believe that every big push goal needs 60 to 90 days to plan and execute it. And that is what we did. And then in your plan, you're going to have to reassess every few days to every week to see what's working and what's not working. If something is not working, you don't just give up. You reassess, you reevaluate, you talk to your leaders, and you create something else that's going to work and help move the needle. I have always been such a believer that faith plus action is what creates the miracle. So you have to have so much faith. And it really is not that seeing is believing, right? Seeing is not believing. Believing is really seeing. When you choose to believe, you can see the way. So you have to decide from the beginning, I am choosing to believe that what I want to create is possible. And when you make that commitment and you choose to believe, you start to be inspired from above. You start to be inspired to see the way. This is how to move my team. This is how to motivate my team. This is how to encourage my team. This is how to incentivize my team. This is how to do it the smart way, like a smart businesswoman would do it. This is the way to do it compassionately. So you have to believe in order to see. Seeing is not believing. And this is the very most important thing, I believe, because as you're working towards your push goal, and Christy would tell you this too if we were doing this live together, as you're working towards your push goal, you have to focus on the activities, not the results. because you're going to be doing all this work, and early in the month it's looking like nothing is happening. Like, oh my gosh, you start to want to freak out because you've made this commitment, you've said what you're going to do, you're doing all of the activities, all the actions. Your leaders and your workers, they say they're doing all the activities and all the actions, and it looks like nothing is happening. And this is when it becomes so easy to retreat back into a corner and to stop and to, pull back and to not go for it. But that is exactly when you need to lean in. Lean into the discomfort, lean into the fear, lean into the possibility of failure with the belief that it will absolutely happen. Lean into it and focus on the activities, not the results. The activities over time are what produce the results. You can't just reach out to somebody once. Not even twice, not even 3 times. It's probably 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Different members of your team, your upline, your downline, different people reaching out, encouraging people. All of this stuff works together for good, but you have got to focus on the plan, executing the plan, and the activities, not the results. Because by now you guys should all know that amazing, miraculous things happen in the last 7 to 10 days of the month, especially the last 3 days, right? The other thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit, and it's so weird to do this live and not have anybody talking back to me, but I'm not an admin on this page, so I can't go live without their approval. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was a very raw moment that I had the weekend before I went diamond. It was Saturday night, and I had been very, very tender in my heart that weekend for whatever reason, and I rested the weekend before. So last weekend I rested because I knew the 5 days going into Monday through Friday that I was not going to rest very much. And to be honest, I didn't. I slept between 2 and 5 hours every night, 4 nights in a row, but it was worth it. It was totally fine. See, you can push yourself in short stretches like that and you're not going to die, right? But I knew that going into that, I was going to need to rest. I was going to need to spiritually, emotionally, and physically fill my cup. Moving into this, I knew that I was going to need to spend the time with my family over that weekend because they weren't going to see me much the next week. That was going to have to be a trade-off. And so I wanted to talk for a minute about being willing to make trade-offs. Now, a lot of times I hear people talk about like, oh, I never had to give up anything to get to diamond, or I never sacrificed my evenings or my weekends or anything like that. I have a really hard time believing that. If that's you, that's incredible. But that's not my story, and that is not relatable to most people. Most people have to make some trade-offs temporarily. And the last 3.5 years in my business, I have dug in and had several periods of time where I have had to work really hard, and I have had to dig my shovel in there and get things going. Like myself alone last week, I probably reactivated, enrolled, signed up, whatever, like 20 something people of my own, 20 to 25 people that had quit, that were less than 100 PV of my own white lines and new joins. And that on top of helping other people do it, right? Because as a leader, you're moving everybody. You're digging down into your teams. You're helping them see the way. You're helping them do the work. All of that when you're trying to accomplish a big, scary goal. And so I had this moment last Saturday night where I just felt all of the feelings, all of the tears, all of the emotions, all of the sorrow that we sometimes feel as a mother when we feel like we've traded off a lot for what we have. And I have traded off a lot. But it was combined with this knowledge and this peace in my heart that it was what I was supposed to do, and that it was what needed to be done for our family. And I looked at my husband last night. We were laying in bed and we were talking, and he is my rock and my biggest supporter. And I looked him in the eyes and I said, I did this because our family needed this. I did this because you needed this. I did this because something had to change in our family. And I made trade-offs. And sometimes that meant missing some sports activities. Sometimes that meant that he took the kids to the beach and I stayed home and worked. Sometimes it meant that I wasn't the amazing mom at school. Sometimes it meant that we didn't eat great dinners every night. Sometimes it meant I took calls at inconvenient times. Sometimes, like last week, it meant that last week I was a workaholic. Those are trade-offs I made. And I felt that sorrow last Saturday night. But I didn't feel that sorrow in the way of regret. I felt that sorrow because it really was a real trade-off that I had to make, but I knew that it was for the greater good. And so I could simultaneously feel that sorrow, but feel the peace and the joy for what it has created for my husband and for my children and for their memories and for the life that we get to live now. For the fact that he has freedom and he is not a slave to his work, that he, as our children are growing and getting to these years that are really important as teenagers and young adults, that he is present because he's good with them at that age. I'm awesome with the babies and toddlers, but man, sometimes I just want to yell at the teenagers and the preteens, and he is great with them. I knew in my heart when I started, and I really started this business on my way to Diamond the first time, on my way to Diamond the second time, I knew in my heart that I was supposed to do this. And I also accepted that it was not going to be easy. I also accepted that it was going to be hard because amazing, big, huge things, monumental things in your life are not meant to be easy. They are hard. They make you grittier. They give you strength. They give you power. They help you to know what you're made of. Having to make sacrifices is not a bad thing. And for everybody, that's going to be different. I'm not saying you have to make the same sacrifices that I made. I'm not saying that my way is the right way for you. But what I'm saying is I want you to release yourself of self-judgment, of guilt, of any of those feelings that you've had over the past few years as you've pushed to emerald, to sapphire, to diamond. And if you're going for double diamond, whatever it is you're working towards, if you know in your mind and in your heart for what purpose it is for, you accept the trade-offs, you accept the work that it takes, knowing in your heart that it is what you are supposed to do. And that's what I knew. So I felt that simultaneously, and it was a beautiful experience, actually. I bawled my eyes out. I cried myself to sleep. I woke up the next morning, and I felt like Heavenly Father had just washed that all away. And like he was saying, it's okay. That was your way. That was my way. Everybody's way is different, and that was my way. And so I just want to encourage you guys to create a push goal for yourself. I want to know what your push goal is. Put it below in the comments. What is your push goal for the next 60 to 90 days? Because that's a cycle that a push goal should be in. How are you going to execute that push goal? How are you going to rise up and show up as a leader that empowers your team? Because when you don't show up in your greatness, you're killing other people's dreams. That's a hard weight to bear. But when you don't show up and you decide to slowly fade and die and quit your business and all of those things, it's one of the most selfish things you could ever do. And I say that with all of the love in my heart. Because you see, there are people that joined you and they followed you and they believed in the vision and they love Plexus, but their leader's not showing up and it is harming them. And so I want you to think real deeply and real seriously. Get deep down into your heart. Listen to what it is you need to do to be the person you need to be that helps others to rise up and be the person that they want to be, that they need to be. You have to show up in your business. Listen, we don't all have to be diamonds, but I know that you can show up in a bigger way. And when you show up, you inspire other people. I got so many messages from silvers and golds and people just starting out that watching me be vulnerable and say what I was going to do inspired them to believe that they could do impossible things. When you show up for your network in that way, you inspire them to dream bigger, to act more, to do more, to actually go out and achieve what they desperately need to achieve or want to achieve. And so it is your right and your responsibility to show up and be everything that you are meant to be in your business and in your life. And get rid of the guilt, get rid of the shame, get rid of the judgment, and just show up in your greatness. So that's what I wanted to share today, guys. I love you. I love this page. I love my fellow jewels. And I'm so grateful for all the prayers that you guys said on my behalf. I know that so many of you were really rooting for me and for my success. And it really was a team and a family effort. And I'm incredibly grateful to this company. I'm grateful to my sidelines, my upline, Amy Paul and Stephanie Abrams and Elizabeth Spone. I'm so grateful for all of those people. And I'm so excited now to go for Triple Diamond for Thomas, and it's going to be incredible. And I want to challenge you guys to set a big, scary push goal, to not just set it, but to actually plan ahead how you're going to execute it and to speak it out loud to your team and everybody you know, because that accountability piece is for real. All right, guys, thanks. Love you.